CBC reported a homeowner on Ontario got a bill for $32,000, not for a renovation, not for a new kitchen, for a furnace and an AC. She thought she was renting for $130 a month. She had signed a rental agreement years earlier. The contract had an acceleration clause buried in the fine print. When she tried to sell her home, the full remaining balance came due, $32,000, to get out of a furnace contract. Most buyers focus on the house itself, the kitchen, the bathroom, the backyard. They skip the things that actually create surprise bills after closing. The costs do not show up in the home inspection. I'm going to walk you through each one with the exact dollar cost of missing it. Before you look at the kitchen, before you check the furnace, you need to find out what you are actually allowed to do with the property. And I do not mean the obvious stuff. I mean easements, mutual drives, zoning restrictions, and the City of Toronto short-term rental bylaw. So let's talk about easements first. An easement is a legal right someone else has over your property. In Toronto, you see utility easements, drainage easements, and right-of-ways. If there's a 3-meter easement running through your backyard, you cannot build a deck, a pool, or an addition on that strip. You find out after closing when your city rejects your building permit. The cost of not knowing, $20 to $80K plus in redesign, renovation plans, and canceled work. Mutual driveways are everywhere in the city. 2 houses sharing a single driveway that gets to the back. Sometimes you can fit a car back there, sometimes you can't between the houses. But either way, usually driveways are a contention for arguments between neighbors. One wants to park in it, which are not legally allowed to. Another doesn't. One wants to fix it up. The other doesn't. Either way, be wary when dealing with mutual drives because your neighbor could give you headaches for years. Then there is zoning. If you're buying a home thinking you'll add a laneway suite, a basement apartment, or even a 3rd floor addition, check the zoning first. The City of Toronto zoning bylaw dictates what you can build. A minor variance application to the Committee of Adjustments starts about $2,000 in city fees. That's before even the legal fees. And it takes like 4 to 6 months or more. And you might get denied. If you plan to rent out your property on Airbnb, the City of Toronto short-term rental bylaw only allows if the property is your principal residence. Buy an investment property and list it, and the fine could be pretty big. This one catches people every time. A home looks renovated, new kitchen, finished basement, updated bathrooms, beautiful. But here's the question nobody asks. Was it done with a permit? In Toronto, you can search building permits records through the city's online portal, and it's free. It takes about 5 to 10 minutes. And yet most buyers skip this entirely. They assume the home inspector will catch everything. The inspector checks the condition of the work. The inspector does not check whether the work was legal. And here's what can happen when you find unpermitted work after closing. You now own it. If the city discovers it, they can issue a work order requiring you to bring it up to code. In some cases, they can order you to tear it down entirely. I've seen basement apartments that were fully finished, look great, but had no permit. The new owner found out when they applied for their own renovation permit, the city flagged the existing basement and required them to either get it permitted or remove it. Permitting a basement apartment after the fact costs $15 to $40K depending on what needs to be done to bring it to code. Talk about electrical, plumbing, egresses, fire separation, and that is if the work was done reasonably well. If it was not, you're starting over. The fix is simple. Before you make an offer, search the address on the City of Toronto's building permit portal. Look for open permits. Look for permits that were never closed. Compare what you see in the house to what was permitted. If the listing says renovated kitchen and there's no permits relating to that build for the kitchen, then start to ask questions before you sign. This one sort of blindsides people. In Ontario, it's common for homes to have rented equipment. Talk about hot water tanks, furnaces, ACs, water softeners, alarm systems. And these are not owned by the homeowner. They are rented from companies like Enercare or Reliance. And the rental contracts transfer to you when you close. In the standard Ontario real estate agreement, there's a clause listing rental items the buyer agrees to assume. Most people glance at it. Some agents do not explain it fully. And buyers find out months later that they are locked into contracts they never negotiated. Let me walk you through the math. A single water heater from Enercare costs about $1,700 to $2,500 plus to buy out if the unit is under 5 years old. That's one appliance. Now stack them. Let's say a furnace rental runs about $5 to $8K or more. I've seen them 20 to 30. And AC unit another 5K or more, and a water softener 4K or more. Some homes have 4 or 5 rental contracts stacked on them. The total buyout can hit 20, 30, 40,000. And the person living in that house right now might not even know the total because they have been paying monthly and never looked at the buyout schedule. And that is the legitimate version. The Ontario Bar Association flagged the HVAC rental scam as one of the most common consumer traps in the province. So a company installs a furnace or AC, often through door-to-door sale, which is illegal now for a reason. They register a lien against the property without telling the homeowner. When the home sells, the buyer's lawyer discovers the lien. The buyout demand is usually $10,000 to $17,000 for equipment worth maybe $2,500. CBC reported a homeowner who was paying $50 a month for a carbon filter and $80 for AC on a 10-year contract. When he sold his home, the buyout was like $17,000. Ontario banned this type of door-to-door HVAC sales in 2018, but contracts signed before the ban are still in force. Before you make an offer, ask the seller for every rental agreement on the property. Read the term, the monthly cost, and the buyout schedule. If there's an acceleration clause, you need to know that before closing, not after. If you're buying a home in Toronto, you do not know any of this, subscribe. I go through real numbers on Toronto real estate every week, so you have actual data before you make a decision. And I'm just shy of 1,600 subs. If you subscribe, I can keep on making videos just like this. A survey is a legal document that shows the exact boundaries of your property. I'm talking about where your lot starts, where it ends, what sits on it, and whether anything from a neighboring property crosses the line. In Ontario, the seller is not required to provide one. Most don't. Here's the problem. Without a survey, you have no idea if the fence between you and your neighbor is actually on the property line. You do not know if the neighbor's garage extends 6 inches onto your lot. You do not know if your own deck was built partially on their land. These are called encroachments, and they create legal and financial problems that can follow you for years. I see this constantly in Toronto. Semi-detached homes on 15 to 20 foot lot. The lots are narrow. The houses are close together. A 6-inch encroachment on a 17-foot lot is a big percentage of your frontage. And when one side wants to renovate, extend, or sell, that encroachment becomes a dispute. When trying to get a new survey in Toronto, it runs about 2 to 4K. That sounds like a lot, but resolving a boundary dispute after the closing clause, that's like 10 to 13K in legal fees. I've seen disputes over a fence that was 8 inches past the property line turn to a $15,000 legal bill for both sides. One neighbor refused to move it. The other hired a lawyer, and it took 14 months. There's another layer. If your neighbor's structure encroaches onto your property and you do nothing about it for 10 years, there's a thing called possessory title under Ontario Real Property Limitation Act. That means that they can legally take ownership of the strip of land they have been using. Your property gets smaller permanently. Well, title insurance covers some encroachment issues, but not all of it. This is what you buy from your lawyer right before closing. Most policies exclude known encroachments that a survey would have revealed. So if you skip the survey and discover a problem later, your title insurer might deny the claim. Before making an offer on any houses in Toronto, ask for the most recent survey. If the seller does not have one, perhaps do one yourself. It does cost about $2,000 to $4,000, and it's much cheaper than legal fees down the road. Here's another one. This one could take a whole afternoon and can save you from the biggest regrets buyers have, the neighborhood itself. So drive through the area at different times. Talk about Monday, rush, midday, and evening. And you want to see the traffic, the parking, the activity, if that matters to you. A quiet street at 2 in the afternoon can be completely different place at 8 on a Monday morning. But the bigger move is checking for future development. The City of Toronto has a public tool called the Application Information Center. It maps every active development application in the city. You can search it by the address and see whether a condo tower, a mixed-use building, or a major infrastructure project is planned for the lot next door. I've seen buyers close on a semi on a quiet street, and 18 months later, there's a 12-story condo approval on the lot behind them. Their backyard faces a construction site for the next 3 years. The resale value changes. The quality of life changes. And it was all on the city's public records before they bought. Right now, Metrolinx has active construction corridors across the city for the Ontario line and the Eglinton Crosstown. If you're buying near any of these routes, check the Metrolinx project map. Construction timelines stretch for years. Your last chance to check the property is the pre-closing walkthrough. And in Ontario, this is not automatic. You need to negotiate it into your agreement purchase and sale, your offer. Don't skip it. The walkthrough happens usually 24 to 40 hours before closing. You're checking that the home is in the same condition as when you made the offer. Appliances that were included are still there. No new damage. The seller has moved out completely and didn't leave you garbage. I've heard of buyers who skipped the walkthrough, closed, and walked to a flooded basement from a burst pipe. At that point, you own it. Have you done your walkthrough and caught it? The seller would be responsible for the repair. So check every faucet. Flush every toilet. Turn on the furnace and the AC. If you can run the AC. If it's too cold, you can't. Remember that. Open the garage door. Look in the basement. This is not the time to be polite. This is your last moment. You have leverage. The homeowner who got the $32,000 furnace bill thought she was signing a rental agreement. The buyers who found the unpermitted basement thought the renovation was legal. The couple who skipped the survey found out the neighbor's garage sat on their property. By then, it was a $15,000 legal fight. Every one of them could have known before they signed. The information was there. They just didn't look.